Hey there, welcome back to The Daily. This is Adriana. What a treat to be back here with you today as we continue on with our theme of the month, which is courage. Starting to wind things down a little bit in our theme of the month. So for today's practice, I'm going to keep my yapping to a minimum so that we can experience the courage of simply holding space for ourselves. And I say the courage of holding space for ourselves for two reasons that spring readily to mind. The very first is, I don't know if this applies to you at all, but it's something that I hear very frequently, definitely something that I experience myself, which is that when it comes to holding space, being really exceedingly present and generous with our attention, oftentimes it's a lot easier to extend that kind of space holding and generosity to other people who might need it, right? Like our friends, our partners, our children, holding a lot of space for them. But when it comes to us and holding space for ourselves, it takes a little extra oomph sometimes to really kind of prioritize holding space for ourselves into the picture. And twofold, second reason is because I think holding space for ourselves is a lot easier said than it is done, because the moment that we experience space, we of course encounter every little thing that might need to be digested, right? It could be difficult feelings, it could be intrusive thoughts, it could be just kind of that like feeling of dissatisfaction of like, nothing's really wrong, but I kind of don't want to sit here, right? We might even experience boredom, which when was the last time any of us had to experience boredom, right? It's like we have this tiny little hand-sized device right there in our back pocket to prevent us from ever really having to kind of hold space in boredom at all. And yet, I don't know about you, but I always find that it's the spacious moments, the moments of perhaps boredom where there's really nothing else that's going on, that some of my best ideas come to me. So we are going to engage in the courageous act of just simply holding a lot of space for ourselves in practice today. So again, I'm going to keep my chat to a minimum. Lots of space in practice today. So wherever you happen to be, it's taking a moment to decide on your seat. And as always, if you're seated on a chair, couch, maybe just letting the feet be flat on the ground, getting this really sturdy base. And then once we've found our seat, taking a moment to decide on our gaze. So eyes open or eyes closed, whatever feels natural, honest to you today. And if we're practicing with eyes open, it's letting the gaze be soft, hazy, unfocused. If we're practicing with eyes closed, seeing if we can still maintain this sense of being uplifted and awake. And we'll take just a few moments here, as always, to open our practice by opening our senses. And these 5 little touchstones to the present moment. And turning the attention over to sound. Just receiving the sounds of the space that we're in. And welcoming any noises that might be present. And just allowing sound to give our practice a bit of context. reminding us where we are, what we're doing. And staying open to sound and shifting the attention to touch. And so taking a few moments here to really center ourselves in our bodies. And feeling the weight of the body against the chair, the floor. And that light pressure of making contact. And taking in the texture of clothing on the skin. And temperature of the air in the room. And bringing the attention to the feet. Just feeling the feet here. Again, texture, temperature, feeling where the feet make contact. And tracing the attention across the soles of the feet. And through the ankles, along the shin bones. And circling through the kneecaps. And grazing across the thighs. And landing in the hips. And feeling where the sit bones meet the cushion, the chair. And bringing the attention to the belly and the chest. And just resting here in the belly, the chest for a few moments. And beginning to establish contact with the body, breathing. And so as always, very little effort needed. And just feeling the way the breath moves in the body today. Similar but different than any other day. And we'll continue into practice. It's using that singular instruction that as the mind wanders, which it naturally will, we're just noticing when we've left our breathing, acknowledging what captures our attention, and then gently, firmly back to the breath in the body. So in these first few minutes of practice together, perhaps finding our attention is drifting, maybe totally lost in thought. Of course, if that's the case, no big deal. Just acknowledging where we've landed, light touch of recognition, and feeling the body breathe. That release and return. So as always, just a bit of encouragement here to keep the window of our senses cracked open a bit. Continuing to come back to our senses in a very literal way. Receiving the sounds of the space that we're in. Feeling the weight, the shape of the body against the chair, the floor, and all of those tiny points of pressure where the body makes contact. Feeling the temperature of the air that's displaced around our body. And just allowing ourselves to rest here. Feeling the vacillation of breath as it moves through the body. And just giving ourselves permission to rest right here. This is it. And of course, as the mind begins to trail off, maybe find ourselves consumed with thought, no big deal. That's what the mind does. In that tiny gap of recognition, we're just acknowledging where we've landed and feeling the body breathe. So one of these analogies that can be useful here is just the idea of keeping the front door and the back door open. Again, whatever it is that's honestly arising in our scope of awareness here, whether it be sound or thinking, physical sensation, really the full spectrum. Just allowing it to enter through the front door, pass on through, and leave without a fight. No need to indulge or resist whatever is sincerely arising for us here. And again, in the moments that we encounter something especially sticky, maybe follow it right out the back door, no big deal. In that gap of recognition, we're just acknowledging where we've landed and feeling the body breathe. So the real beauty of practice here is that we don't need to work to manufacture some kind of experience. Instead, we're simply holding space for whatever experience we might be having, and continuing to center ourselves within our experience, whatever that happens to be. And again, in the moments that we find ourselves totally lost at sea, just acknowledging where we've landed and coming back to the breath in the body. And then in our final few moments of practice together, maybe just taking a moment to reconnect to what it is that brought you here. Why yes, why practice, why today? And just closing out with a little bit of sweetness and offering ourselves a hand on the heart, maybe giving ourselves a little bit of credit, a kind word for taking the time and making the space, really prioritizing that for ourselves. And then as you're ready, letting formal practice drop and coming back in together at your own pace, no rush. At your own pace, no rush. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for practice. Have a great rest of your day. I hope it is a beautiful one. And we will see you right back here tomorrow.